Exactly. But look, ladies and gentlemen, those are our game balls real quick, but we got to take a quick breather, ladies and gentlemen. We will be right back.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is. Yeah, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, you already know who it is. It's your boy, Sean Spencer, with my guy, South Carolina's finest, Will Kramer, trying to break down this Washington Commanders loss to the Detroit Lions. We've given you our positives. We've given you our negatives. Even managed to find a couple people to get game balls. Yes, they were nerfed. They were the little whistle ones.
Yeah.
To throw. You know what I mean? But we still gave it to them. And we are here trying to break down this game, and now we're at the crux of the matter, the issue, the coach discussion, because we have to talk about this. We have to go into what the heck happened. We can break it down to the coordinators and the defense did, what the offense did, but Will, I think we need to start with the head man. Okay. Let's start with the main guy. So obviously, once we got back, I was listening to everything I possibly could on Washington because I wanted to hear what it was that we did, what it was that the coaches saw, the commentators, the guys that do this kind of like us, the sports reporters or whatever. I kind of wanted to see what people were seeing, and a lot of it was similar. But I did listen to Big 100.3 on, I believe, Tuesday, and I was listening to Coach Rivera, who actually went on there, and he kind of broke it down. They were trying to ask a bunch of questions about how the defense gave up a lot, and how did they know, what was going on, and they just seemed like they were torturing us, and we couldn't stop anything. This is almost verbatim how he's asking the questions, and Rivera said, look, I break it down to 6 big chunk plays. They had 6 chunk plays that really changed the course of the game, and they changed field position. You talk about that Amon-Ra St. Brown first run of 40 some odd yards, the Swift run of 50. You got the run, the reverse that came around for about 50. These are huge plays that are changing not only the down a distance, but also you go from thinking, okay, let's just try to be conservative to now, we're 30 yards out. We're in scoring range. This is different. And the way that Rivera tried to almost downplay it was, if we can get these things figured out, we'll be good. And, there's not many holes, just a couple little leaks and things here, but things that we can fix and things that we can adjust. Now, I'm sitting here listening like, Coach, it looked a little bit different. I don't know. I was in Detroit. Were you in Detroit, Coach? But, obviously he was. And it's weird because this is one of those places where I want a Rick Doc Walker on the sideline. What the... the hat comes off, and what are y'all doing? But everything that we see from Coach from TV is what he is on the sidelines. Stoic, just sitting there, all that. I don't want that. We're getting stopped. Come on, Coach. Get after these guys. And I did not see that. So let's start with Coach Rivera. What are your thoughts? Because year 3, things need to be a little different, and we look like we were not ready.
Right. Well, and it's like you said, things were falling apart in the first half, and you weren't seeing any fire from him. Yep. Now, the way things changed in the second half leads me to believe that something happened in that locker room.
Oh, yeah.
But I too would have liked to see some type of energy from him on the sidelines, talking to his coaches, talking to his players, just doing something out there other than just standing there. It would give you a sense of confidence that, okay, he sees it, he's got it, they're going to make some adjustments. We had to wait until the play happened. I think it's really interesting that he brings up what he says. Now, part of it could be true, where we get better as the season goes on. And in the last 2 years under Rivera and starting this year, we do start slow and we get stronger. So they do seem to figure things out. And that's including, the most hated man in Washington right now, the defense coordinator. They seem to kind of get things figured out as the season progresses. So I think he's a little bit right saying, let's preach some patience. But what surprises me about that is I think Ron doesn't like anything to get out in public, and he tries to keep everything behind closed doors.
Yep.
If you're saying, it's up to 6 chunk plays, well, you're kind of putting the blame on the players when you say that.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I feel. Like you're basically saying, well, if we had done this a little bit better and this a little better, and if a guy had been in the right position, we wouldn't have had that play. We that would eliminate it. Now you're kind of publicly putting the blame on the players, and there is some blame. There is absolutely some blame on the players, but I think from offense, defense, and mostly defense, we're going to kind of really be going at is it's more than just the defense coordinator. It's more than just the linebacker. There's a lot more going on that's not meshing. And what's frustrating, since we're talking about the head coach, is the same problems from last year are happening this year.
Yep.
And you are this team's football CEO. You're not just the head coach that is being given players to go figure it out with. You have been in the decision room with your general managers telling them what you're going to do, and you brought back the same defensive roster from last year to this year, and you're having the same problems. So that's on you, Ron.
Yep. Yeah. And something needs to change. And that was another thing that I didn't necessarily like about what he said, because that's one of the questions that the interview asked him was, well, in the second half things did change. So what did you say to them? Did you give them that hoorah speech? And he basically kind of broke it down as we just did. No real energy, not like just kind of, hey, this is what happened. Like, we just told them, hey, if you don't, essentially what you're saying, if you don't do these couple things, then it would be a different outcome. And it just kind of seemed like it was like, wait a minute, like, I get what happened in the second half, but that seemed like some position changes and some people actually got lit. From what he was talking about, it was like, hold up, something. You that lends me to believe exactly what you're saying, where it's like, oh, I'm not going to tell them that we ripped them a new one. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say, oh, everything's good in house, which, okay, that's fine. But I don't know. I mean, and going to, I'm not going to, we're in the pros, but going to college, you look at somebody like a Brian Kelly in that first game against LSU, him coming out of the locker room and saying, well, I don't think we could play as bad as we did in that first half, but who knows? I'm a first-year coach. Okay, right. Yeah, they stunk, and let them know it. So let's go. I need something from coach to say that, because I think it's starting to trickle down to the other sides. We cannot afford this year to keep starting late and keep spotting teams 22. You know what I mean? Like, I said that jokingly to the Detroit fans. Oh, we spotted you guys 22. Here we come. But seriously, I'm shaking like, dude, how the hell did we give these jokers 22 flipping points? You know what I mean? Without anything. No kind of resistance in that first half. So that does go to coach. And that absolutely does, Will. But let's break this thing down first.
Well, I do think that he definitely is keeping what he says public.
Yeah.
Very, very under wraps. Because remember when we went 6-6 last year?
Mm-hmm.
They filmed Ron in the locker room saying, what did I tell you? Nobody is going to dictate what we do. And it was a very impassioned speech, and he was, really getting into it with the players. So I think it's there. I just think, and I just think they keep it behind closed doors. It's got to be there, because there has to be a reason to how they make those adjustments too.
And even after, what was it, like the Seattle game last year, where he's coming off the field. I need that. Give me that. Let's go. Like, what are we doing? I just need, you got to light a fire. I understand these are all professionals getting paid big bucks, but you got a lot of fire. You got a lot of fire into these guys, because at the end of the day, it's football. It is football, and they take a little piece of what they get from you, and that's going to translate on the field. And that, to me, is very frustrating. Mm-hmm. To see that in person, it was very frustrating. But yeah, let's break this thing down a little bit. Between the coordinators, we have a lot to say about the defense. So do you want to start with the offense?
Sure.
Or do you want to just
let's go offense. It'll be shorter.
Yeah, right. And Will, I'm just going to start you off real quick. Honestly, a tale of two halves. Mm-hmm. The second half, it's like everything that we said. You got to get the ball to multiple people, get different people in the running game, take your shots deep. I think it wasn't even like 15 seconds into the second half. We're already taking a deep shot to Jahan Dotson. We're already stretching the field. And it's like, really? What is this? Fucking 2 quarters late? What are we doing? Like, I was madder. I was madder at that throw than I was the whole first half. Because it was like, I knew you could do this.
Mm-hmm.
These plays have been there the entire game, but now you wait to do that. So we got to go back to your guy, Scott Turner. We have to go back to what that is in the play calling, where in the first half, and like we stated, yes, they were behind the 8 ball, being inside the 20. They were on the having poor field position in that first half, but still, you got to give me something that's going to at least threaten that defense. Because when we were starting inside our own 20, that front 7, they were licking their chops, and they were all playing up against the line, and they had no fear of the running game, and they were just pinning their ears back. So what did you see, Will?
Yeah, I mean, you've said it. I mean, I think we should be very critical of Scott for that first half, because I don't understand what the scheme was, what the philosophy was there. I thought there was a very, very poorly designed start to the game. And, we know the first 15 plays are scripted, that they're trying to find things out, set things up for later, and see what's going to work. But I felt we stuck with a bad script way too long, and we needed to make that quicker adjustment. You kind of talked about the bad run, the run game that the Lions weren't scared of. I think right now we're in a situation where our pass sets up the run.
Yeah.
And we need to establish a passing attack so that we can get an opportunity with our run game. Because right now, our interior offensive linemen are not playing all that well. We don't have a very good run game right now. And while I also don't think that Gibson is showing himself to be a running back, we keep going back to it, keep giving him these chances. Or we're running plays to the outside still, that are a little bit slow developing, and he needs to wait on his blockers, and they're not making the play. So I really think Scott needed to scrap the plan and say, let me go back to the things that we can do. I wanted to see quick game come out there. I wanted to see us come with the bunch formations so that when they're out there and they're playing defense, they don't know who to cover. And, you can run short plays. I wanted us to just try and move the ball downfield a little bit. I'm talking 10, 20 yards, then go back to the run game. Let you get some momentum, quiet the crowd down by moving the chains a little bit. And he didn't do that. And so that I was very disappointed with him, with his scheme out there. Just like, come on, man. We saw you've got creativity last week. Where is it on this one? This is vanilla right now. Until we got to the second half, and he brought some of that. Now, we still struggle to run the ball, but it was more of a situation was he recognized we got to just go to the passing game because that's all I've got right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, you could see it in that first half. And it's so weird watching the game from TV because you don't get the real feel of how that crowd gets amped in between plays. So, they stop us on first down, the crowd gets up to a certain octave. They stop us on that second down, that crowd jacks up, and that stadium just goes, let's go for our Lions. And I mean, it just roars. And you're sitting here like, wow, I can't even hear 2 feet away from me, much less this and that. That type of stuff we need. Like, I think it was one early third downs. We hit like one of those little quick screens and got, maybe 5 or 10 yards or something like that. And another time, like a couple of times we did some of those little jailbreak screens or something to kind of get them quick. But that's what we should have been doing on first down. We should have been opening up with those type of things. So then, okay, now it's making those defenders have to, okay, where am I going? Where am I reading this and that? Like you were saying. And that to me, and it's weird because watching it there, you can see as the defense, if you're in those, like you said, the trips, and if you're out there, you see, okay, who you got? The defense is moving over and this and that. We're keeping right in the middle. We weren't really threatening anybody with even the formations. They were stacked. They weren't. I mean, you would see the guy kind of creeping up on the edge, and you're just like, he's gonna blitz. There's nobody's looking like they're gonna stop. Like, and the play would be killed before it started. Those are the type of things where it's like, all right, I understand that you normally wait till halftime for adjustments. You need to make an adjustment now.
Yes.
What you're doing is not working. And it's getting to the point, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it was getting to the point where even us as fans kind of were saying, we see what's about to happen. We see the play that you're calling. It was just evident. It was like, oh, okay, I could have called that on Madden. Like, it was not, there was nothing that made you kind of, okay, oh, the trickery, some misdirection. Give me something that could help. It was frustrating, Will.
But then I think we also got to recognize what happened in the second half.
Yeah.
You know, and they put up 27 points. They moved the ball. You look at our offensive stats. If you didn't watch the game or see the score break line of top timelines, you're looking at here 337 yards of offense, two receivers over 70 yards, four receivers over 50 yards, spreading the ball out. As Anton said, to his credit, using our weapons. So I feel like I'm not as concerned. I'm not concerned about the offense. I can be critical of the scheme and saying, what were you doing out there? Why did we start off so lethargic? But I feel like they made the adjustments to fix their problems.
Yes. So
I can feel good about what the offense did.
But that other side of the ball, that side of the ball, I can't get with. I cannot. And look, in the second half, they started making some stops. You know, like I said, we held them to 4 of 13 on third down. We also only held them 4 of 6 in the red zone. So they were scoring when they needed to get it done. Will, I'm going to give you that defense. We gotta figure something out, man.
Yeah,
we gotta figure something out.
Yeah. So let's look at some of the things that were happening out there, because I think this defense, to talk about who's to blame, it's way more nuanced and complex than simply saying, if you honestly, I'll be honest, if you're saying Jack Del Rio is a problem and needs to be fired, I think you're taking the easy way out. Yep. And if you say these players, there's a couple players that need to be switched, that I think that could have a little bit more on there, but it's still taking the easy way out. Like they're both to blame here on some of this stuff. So, so like some of the things I saw, is, we had 0 pass rush. We let Jared Goff, who's a statue, stand back there and throw the ball, and we've got some guys, Montez Sweat, you had a good first game. Where were you on this game?
Right.
So we had 0 pass rush. We had poor communication in the secondary. Yep. Let's talk about one of those chunk plays that Ron talked about. You saw it. You talked about it. St. Brown turned and no one came with him.
Yep.
That was William Jackson and St. Juice out there. We've had communication problems with these two. All right. So where I say it's a players and the coaches thing is, what is going on with your scheme? Why do it, what is with the scheme that these guys can't figure it out? And if they can't figure it out, are you either going to replace them or are you going to change your scheme? Because something's got to happen. We had we had poor run defense. They had over 150 yards rushing. If you look at DeAndre Swift, you go, oh, well, he only had 56 yards rushing. He had 5 carries.
Yeah.
He averaged over 11 yards a carry. He was gashing us. It wasn't just, a little bit here, a little bit there. He was getting huge runs out of it. Jamal Williams had a big day, over 50 yards, and they kind of say, well, he's not really known for his running. He's kind of the third down guy. You let him be known for his running,
Right.
So that's happening. And so these are repeated problems from last year, though. We did not have a good run defense last year. We do not have a good run defense this year. So that's when it's like, as we talked about to Ron and we talked to Jack, like, what are you doing if these players aren't doing it? And I'm sick and tired of hearing gap integrity and do your job. Okay. Yeah. Because same thing, like, well, then what are you going to do if these guys aren't fitting your scheme? There is some mention, I read it or listened to it on Monday where they said some of the guys on defense, especially the secondary, are saying they're asking us to do too much. What they're asking us to do and interpret takes us away from playing free.
Yeah.
And so they're slow. All right. And on that chunk play to DeAndre Swift, the touchdown, there was supposed to be a man covering him. I think it was Derek Forrest. Mm-hmm. He wasn't covering him. Mm-hmm. So now where do you put the blame then if there was supposed to be man coverage and the guy wasn't covering the man? And he followed the receiver who was streaking out. But on that same play, that big long run that you mentioned, we were undermanned on that. They had 8 guys blocking. We had 7 guys attacking. That's not going to help. Yes, Ron, you're correct. On that play, Derek Forrest didn't fill his gap and Jamin Davis didn't fill his gap. But you also went into the play undermanned. Mm-hmm. So it's like the players effed up, but the coaching call on that play was not putting them in a place to be successful. So I'll stop there, but it's like that's where it's like we've got a cohesion problem, it seems like.
We do. And you know what? And my thing, one of my biggest things is we go into these games, and you and I go in there. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now, even longer than that, to be quite honest. But when one of the things that we try to do, especially with our keys of victory, who are we going to single out? They need to stop that guy. They need to stop that guy. If you look at the stat sheet, we said we need to stop Swift in the running game. He only had 56 yards. Like you said, he also had 5 carries. There was one guy that we talked about. If you're a fantasy owner, you know it. You talked about it. Amon-Ra St. Brown. That is the only guy that we could have. I would have been fine if Reynolds would have gone off or Chark had done stuff. That's fine. But we shut those guys down, even though Reynolds did get a touchdown. Mm-hmm. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9 receptions, over 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But Will, the one part that you didn't say is he was the leading rusher of the daggone game with 2 carries for 68 yards. Now, obviously, the most of it was the 1 carry that he broke down the right sidelines, but it's still like you knew this is the guy that you needed to come in and stop. You needed to put 1, if not 2 guys, maybe even just to shadow him, do something. This is their threat. And he torched us catching the ball. He torched us receiving the ball. And he torched us as a decoy because by the time we finally did start following, then other people got in there and got in the action. And look, this guy, he's moving up on the list. He ain't Devontae Adams yet. He ain't one of those, but he's definitely moving up. And you see he's playing with his chip on his shoulder, and more power to him. I mean, the dude, he said, I don't know if you saw this press conference where he was I looked over to the other sideline, and I saw De'Ami Brown, somebody that got picked before me. And it means something to me. It affects me. And then he kind of jokingly said, and I looked at his stat sheet. How many catches and what yards did he have?
Played 1 play.
Yeah, De'Ami. Sorry, buddy. But that type of thing, this is the guy that we've circled. We've marked in red. We've said he is the guy that you need to shadow. You need to stop. That is what, I mean, it's one of these situations where it's like, I don't care about the rest. Obviously, I do, but I mean, I don't care about the rest. Stop him. That's how their offense goes and comes. And it really messed with me that especially early and often he was torching us. He was getting in the end zone. He was getting chunk plays. He was that X factor in this game. And that's one of those things where it wasn't just the first half. You know what I mean? We talk about when we, got back into the game, had some momentum, and then all of a sudden they hit him around the sidelines. And you were saying when he was like, we were like, oh shit, how do you not see, like, this guy is their everything. That needs to be the number one thing you do. I remember when we used to coach Little League, we'd always say, you got to worry about number so-and-so. So on every play, you are calling out, where is this guy? That goes back to Little League football right there. You guys need to, that's where the coaching failed to me. You need every play. Where is number 14? Where is St. Brown? What is he doing? He was the difference, and in my opinion, the bigger difference. We had other issues, but he was somebody that was like, look, if I need to start somewhere, coaches, that's where I need to start. Focus on him. Where is he? Yep. And that's somewhere where I really felt like we slipped off, because I feel like if we would have potentially been able to contain him or even focus a little more on him, who knows? I mean, we're only a 9-point game. That thing might change, but like we said, there's other things we got into it. What are the other discussions on these coaches?
Well, and so I think we've kind of mentioned this in the offseason, and the biggest concern right now with our secondary is the fact that Kendall Fuller excels in zone coverage. and William Jackson excels in man coverage. How do you blend those two? And I think that is really concerning. However, that St. Brown touchdown, that I think their second touchdown of the game, was man coverage, and William Jackson slipped. And it was not a good touchdown to give up. And it's like, what more can you do there? Right. We put you in man coverage. You didn't make the damn play, and you gave up a touchdown, And that DeAndre Swift touchdown, like, you were supposed to be covering this guy. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Derek Force. I think it is. But somebody was supposed to be covering him. All right. Now, but to play the devil's advocate, Ron actually said it on that play. It was 3rd and 13. Did we need to blitz? Could we have played a coverage call instead and allowed them to make the catch and tackled them? Instead, we blitzed, so we had left guys back there covering, and that allowed him to gash us. Now, let's keep in mind that never should have been a touchdown, But you take away some of those two plays, and that's 14 points off the board. Yeah. Do we have a different game? So it's like, I do think there are some things that are correct out there where Ron and them are saying, like, we can correct this stuff. We can fix this stuff. But you mentioned, why is St. Brown, why are you ignoring him on the crossing pattern and covering the guy going deep when he is the bigger threat? Why did our two corners just stare at him as he ran that way?
Yeah.
like that's what I don't understand. But when we talked about, like, okay, well, the offense got it together, I don't know if I feel like our defensive coordinator can pull this out. But I also don't know who's going to take over. I don't really know our assistants well enough to say, like, well, this guy used to be a coordinator. He can take it over. Right. I expected a whole lot more out of Ron and Jack being former linebackers themselves. I've expected a lot more of a progression out of Jamin Davis than we've seen, and that's not coming to fruition. And I started thinking about Jack Del Rio, and I heard this on the Al Galdi pod. He was a stud defensive coach beginning in 2012, I believe, with the Ravens, all the way till when he left the Broncos, I believe, in about 2012, 2013. Then, he went from D coordinator to places to head coaches. And even when he was in Jacksonville, they had a good defense. And so that went with him. Okay. When he went to the Raiders, 2015, he did not have a good defense for his time as head coach. And now he's come here and he has not had a very good defense, minus that terrible quarterback year of 2020. And I started thinking, is Jack's coaching style old school? Does it not fit today's NFL? And if that's the case, like, what do we do?
Yeah, that does make that is kind of interesting that you said that, because that definitely wow. Yeah. And it's also kind of funny that, like you said, our head coach and our defensive coordinator, both linebackers, and our biggest problem is linebacker. Something ain't working right. Yeah, right.
Like, right. How?
Yeah, explain that to me, because oh my goodness. Yeah, look, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder, what's going on in that defense, in the defensive room. What's going on with those guys? Because there's some kind of miscommunication between either the coaches to the players or the players with each other, because these are things that we should have fixed weeks ago. These are things that we should have addressed long before that. You got rid of Sam Mills III, because you said, the D-line, they weren't getting along. They didn't have their ear, but you brought in other guys. We got to care. We got these other guys. What is going on with communication? What is going on in that in the linebacker room, corners, everything, where we're not getting it together? Because these are things that are really frustrating to us, the fans, but even to the players. We've seen, on Twitter and on, Instagram, these different posts and things. I don't know if you saw the one that Jamin Davis put up. Ooh, my goodness.
What is that saying?
I was
trouble brewing.
Yeah, and then the fact that he took it down right away, but so many people saw it and put it out, and I was like, okay, yeah. So
and Derek Forrest had the statement after the game saying, like, scheme, and
right.
just now. I don't know if he was coached on this, but yesterday or today, he came out to say, well, I was meaning their offensive scheme was they had a good game plan. They caught us where, it's like, did he get coached on that? But remember what St. Brown said right after the game? He goes, we knew they were not good. When he scouted them, we knew they were not good in bunch formation. So we thought we would attack that.
Yep.
So like Ron, Jack, like the teams know this. It's not rocket science. We know this as amateur fans who don't even have the all 22. We see it. What are you guys going to do to fix it? Because I'm sick and tired of seeing our safety and corners pointing at each other. Say, I thought you had him. I'm sick of it.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And honestly, it is very hard to watch. All right. We can go even back to the Jaguars game where, obviously we had the great start, we had the great finish, but there was that, quarter and a half in the middle where you're just sitting here like, what the heck is going on? And that's what you had in the first half and many parts of the second half, where it's really hard to understand that you've been practicing all this time. You've been together all this time. Like you said, we see this. How are you missing this? How? You have the tablets. You redo the plays. You're like, I remember being up in the stands and just calling it out like, oh, snap, chunk play, big play. Oh, look at that hole. That hole. Oh, geez, that hole is huge. And it's just like what happening? And it's funny. There was times because whenever, obviously, they do offense, when they're on the offense, they go quiet, quiet. I would stand up and be like, talk to each other. And like when they're driving towards our side, I was sitting there, communicate. You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting there here trying to coach these guys because nobody is saying anything. And at one play, I remember there was one play where the safety comes up. I don't know if it was, it might have been Forrest. He comes up and the guy was the linebacker said something to him, like Holcomb said something. And he's sitting here all the way up into the play, like, what? And he's not getting it. And then obviously he's out of position, and they gash us. But these are things that we should not be worried about right now. These are things that we should have got fixed in this off season up into training camp. And it almost makes you wonder if going back to July, going back to, obviously the January 6th committee and all that stuff going on, if that stuff that, where Jack Del Rio said his little piece and everybody said the right things, oh, we're just here to play football, it makes you wonder, maybe things aren't as kosher as they might have first appeared. And it really kind of, because these type of things are things that it don't seem natural. It doesn't seem like you're a professional team and y'all aren't seeing some of the things that other people are seeing. Like to your point, they said that in the presser, like we knew what was going on. Like we knew what they were doing. And that scares me, Well,
what makes you wonder if there's trouble in paradise is in the offseason, Jack Del Rio made a very weird comment when he said, well, I think the difference between last year and this year is last year we had some of our secondary didn't show up for OTAs, and it really set us back. Like, you're telling me in April someone not being there is going to F you up for the entire season? You can't correct this?
Right.
Come on now. And it's like, so you have that comment. You have the January 6th comment. You've got, this afternoon, Jack said, it's Thursday. I don't need to talk about something on Sunday, and now some of that has to do because he hates the media. He doesn't want to give the media anything. But it's like, it's the whole thing of like, when are you going to take some responsibility? Ron, when are you going to take some responsibility for the same shit happening every single game? Absolutely. Instead, but you're going to be able to say, well, there's 6 chunk plays, and if we get rid of these chunk plays, and if we cover this guy, we're fine. Yeah, you're right. But that chunk play came because your players still can't follow your scheme. And
that's the problem. That going back to Ron, like that's one of the problems I did have with that interview. And I understand, this. I don't know if you guys don't get big 100.3.
I get iHeartRadio. I could listen to it. Yeah. Let me know the times on it. I could probably look at it or watch it, listen on pods.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'm sure they have it. If you go on the station, they have it. It was probably, I think it was Tuesday morning, because I dropped off Kat and I was listening to it. I believe it's Tuesday morning. So if you go back to listen to last Tuesday, it was his interview with him right after the game and talking about the upcoming game against Philly. And one of the issues that I did have is that he did play it down and that he did kind of wasn't really even kind of going into detail as far as like, well, what are some things that you saw from them that they did, as opposed to it was just these 6 plays, it was just this, and boom. Now, mind you, the guy interviewing him is a morning personality, so he has his quirks and this and that.
It's Don Geronimo, right?
Yeah, it's Don Geronimo. Yeah. So you already know Kat's all-time favorite.
Really?
She does not like it.
So listen, this is where I started to love working from home. But thank you to Jack. He bought me a Sonos, and so I sit there and listen to Washington sports radio all day long while I'm working. And so I go through the Kevin Sheehan show to JP and Finley to. I'll listen to Grant and Danny at times. So I just listen to y'all's radio the whole time while I'm down here. So I'm able to stay plugged in. So yeah. I'll have to find when that if either I'll try and listen to it live or catch it and just play it on the recaps that they usually post to listen to some of that stuff.
It was interesting. Yeah. I remember I was sitting there, I was in the car at a stoplight, and I'm writing this down on a napkin, just like, oh snap, was this a 6-chunk play? And trying to get into what he was saying. But yeah.
Now, if you had an iPhone, you could be talking that to me.
Okay.
But because you don't, we have to use these audio messages that we keep having.
Here we go. We're communicating, Will. We're communicating better than our team, daggone it. Oh my God. Hey, Will, you know what? Do you got anything else on?
No, I think we've exhausted this.
I cannot. Yeah. We need to switch something up.
Right. But I think it shows how complex this is, though. It's not a one thing is going to fix it right now.
Right. Because look, you got to take the good with the bad. There were some positives. There were some things that we can work on, and there were some things that were deemed as negative, but they can't be switched. Couple things here and there can switch it. At the end of the day, that big momentum, if you have it on your side, it makes a difference, but if you let the other team get it, especially in their stadium, that changes some things. Ladies,
thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.